Well, joining me on the set is Nitzan Horowitz, a former Israeli minister and a journalist and author. Hello to you. Nitzan, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
We just heard that report from our correspondent in Tehran talking about Israeli strikes on civilian infrastructure. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you see, Israeli government is afraid that Trump is going to end the war very soon, since there are negotiations going on now. Then his declarations are pointing to the point where he's going to end the war, as he did last summer. And so Netanyahu wants to take advantage of the few days left in order to, increase the strikes. But it's clear, I think, it was clear from the very beginning, I think, that changing the regime in Tehran and eliminating Tehran's nuclear and ballistic capabilities cannot be achieved by bombing from the air, by airstrikes. So the goals of the war were not realistic. And I think more and more people in Israel are begin to understand this point. I mean, at the beginning there was an overwhelming support for the war in Israel.
Yeah, the polls showed over 90%.
Right, because we were promised, as maybe Trump was promised by Netanyahu, that the regime would be wiped out, etc., etc. But after a few weeks, with heavy damage in Israel as well, alarms all night long, missiles everywhere, then people start to realize that, this is not attainable.
Does the prime minister realize that? I mean, if the attacks are escalating, why is he worried about the war ending?
Because his interest, also political interest, is to continue the war. Israel is in a state of almost permanent war since October 7th. Donc it's already 3 years of a continuous war. It helps Netanyahu avoid the creation of a national committee of inquiry to investigate the October 7th attack. It helps him with his judicial overall, with internal political maneuvers. This is an electoral year in Israel. So for him being like chef de guerre,
A wartime leader, you're right.
Yeah, wartime leader. Politically speaking, it helps him. So for him, there is an interest in going on. It's not just in Iran. It's Lebanon. It's the West Bank, other fronts as well. So, but it's not up to him. It's President Trump who decides. So he knows, and he's already talking about it, that the war might end in a few days or in a week or two. So he would like to take advantage of the of the time and to have some more strikes, etc., etc.
You and I each alluded to it earlier about the massive public support that was
at the beginning.
At the beginning. I think it was over 90% of Jewish responders to a poll. From what you gauge, even if it's just anecdotally, has that support dropped off?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Judging by social media and by what people say on mainstream media and on the street, people are very tired. They were promised a quick victory. And, Iran is still capable of launching missiles every day, each and every day, all over the country, from north to south, so nobody is protected. And so people are, schools are closed.
Right.
Many people stay at home. Many buildings do not have any kind of protection, basements or etc. So people are afraid. It's dangerous. And there is no victory. I mean, as we saw, the Iranian regime is still there.
Right.
There is a new leadership.
Our correspondent said that's the feeling why Iran feels like it has the upper hand.
Now Iran is sort of dictating the terms for a ceasefire.
So Iran has more influence, more leverage.
So people begin to ask questions. Why did we get into this war? Were the goals real? I mean, what was the reason behind all that? There is also an economic price. You know, it costs Israel billions of dollars every day. So yeah, I think more and more people are questioning the real motives of the war.
Yeah.
Although everybody wish Iran would become a flourishing democracy, etc. But can you really achieve that by airstrikes? I don't think so, and many people don't think so as well.
Do we have an idea of the economic cost of the war for Israel?
Look, the Israeli economy is, for almost a month now, is completely paralyzed. There are almost no flights, you know, and many people do not work. As I told you, the educational system is closed. So yes, it's a heavy price, and also many people wounded, killed, a lot of material damage.
About that material damage.
It's not easy.
We're talking about the Israeli military censor.
Yes.
The previous program. How much of the images of the damage are being shown on TV, and how much more widespread is the damage than what's actually being shown?
Well, there is a censorship mechanism to prevent the media from showing exact locations of, you know, hits
These
and
impact sites,
et cetera, et cetera. So I would guess that the damage is is bigger than what is shown on TV, etc. But since people take pictures themselves, you know, on social media, so you can see lots of stuff, and these are very powerful missiles, Iranian missiles, and they hit entire buildings. So when an entire building collapsed, for instance, in the town of Arad, in the south of the country, and Dimona also, entire buildings were destroyed. So we had hundreds of wounded people in those areas. So people are beginning to get to be more frustrated from this ongoing situation. You know, the Israeli population was promised at the beginning of the war that after a few days there would be less missile attacks, less alarms, but it's not happening. So people are, you know, they know that it's going to be Trump that would stop the war and not Netanyahu. So they're waiting for Trump's decision. That's the situation. Israel is waiting for Trump's decision.
You know, some of the critics of the U.S. administration had said that Israel dragged the United States into this war. Others, I mean, you're saying that it's Trump that's going to have the final say.
Well, it's possible that Netanyahu convinced Trump that it would be an easy win. There are reports in recent days in Israel as that the Mossad, Israeli security agency, intelligence agency, presented a scenario to Netanyahu that it would be actually quite easy to topple the regime by bombing all sorts of certain strategic points, and then the masses in Tehran, in Iran, would go down the street and would, you know, topple the regime and make a new revolution. But it didn't happen. The people in Iran, the demonstrators, the people who are against the regime are afraid to demonstrate because, you know, we know what happened a month ago or 2 months ago. They were shot, or more than 30,000 people were shot dead in the streets of Tehran by the Revolutionary Guards. And so they're afraid. So this scenario that Israel and the U.S. would bomb Tehran and the people would go out and, you know, throw out the mullahs, you know, the ayatollahs, it didn't happen. And maybe Trump is maybe frustrated that he was dragged into the war. I mean, he decided to get in. Although his whole ideology and his base, Republican base, was against these kinds of overseas adventures. But yeah, now he's trying to find a solution out of it.
Yeah, so real quickly, if there is a negotiated end to this war, how can the region just turn the page from there's a new supreme leader, there's Israel and Iran are no closer to settling their grievances about one another. the Gulf states have been attacked. There have been dozens killed there. What does it mean for the future, even if a peace is settled?
I think the situation is going to continue to be tensed because it's not just Iran. Nowadays, there is a war going on in Lebanon, which could be quite serious. You know, it's already very serious, and it could develop. There is the situation in the West Bank. Gaza is still a problem. And as you mentioned, Iran, if there is an agreement and the regime stays in place, then we can expect more and more events. So I don't think we can talk about turning a page in the region, unfortunately. Not yet.
Nitzan, thank you so much for your time. Nitzan Horowitz, former
Thank you, sir.
Minister. Thank you. And as he was saying, on the war's second front in Lebanon, there has been raging fighting. This Friday, there was a smoke seen above the coastal city of Tyre. Lebanon drawn into the war after Hezbollah had fired rockets into Israel, avenging the killing of Iran's supreme leader earlier this month. Since then, Israel has been pummeling the south of the country, as well as the capital Beirut and its southern suburbs. Israeli strikes have killed more than 1,100 people in Lebanon and displaced over 1 million. Israel has also been sending ground troops into southern Lebanon to create what it calls a buffer zone, though some observers call it an invasion or illegal occupation.